Hey guys, so now we're going to take a look at my dinosaur deck. I've been wanting to build this for quite some time when Ixalan was first announced, and then of course Rivals of Ixalan came out after it, but never really got around to it until a couple of months ago. But at that time, I had already purchased a Commander 2019 deck. I purchased the token deck, the one with the proliferate mechanic, and it came with this Atla Palani, the Nest Tender. And the main reason that I chose this as the commander is simply because of her ability to make eggs. And then when an egg dies, you reveal cards from the top of your deck to reveal a creature, and you just put it on the battlefield. So no, you're not getting to cast it. Our bigger dinosaurs, two of them actually have cast activations, but if you can flip a 8 or 7 or a 9 mana dinosaur for free, then it's a pretty good trade-off. So again, she makes tokens. You pay 2 tap for a 0/1 green egg creature token, which I do have right over here. We can take a look. There's what our egg tokens look like. And then we do have some, not a lot, but we do have some ways to proliferate in this deck. I took some of the proliferate mechanics out of the deck as well. So let's go ahead and look at our creatures. So, we'll be starting with our dinosaurs, of course. This is a dinosaur tribal. It does have some non-dinosaurs, but they support our dinosaurs. So, first we have the Snubhorn Sentry. It does have the Ascend mechanic. If you cast this, or if it's out on the field even, you don't have to cast it after you have your 10 permanents. But as soon as you do have 10 permanents, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game, and this gets +3/+0 while you have the Blessing. So, basically a 3/3 for 1, pretty good. Then we have Sky Terror, 2/2 for 2 with Flying and Menace. Watley Snubhorn, it's got Vigilance. The Marauding Raptor. This is one of our things that makes our creatures cost less. We have some others that make dinosaurs cost less, but this one makes all of our creatures cost 1 less. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, this does deal 2 damage to it. And if a dinosaur is dealt damage this way, this gets +2/+0 till the end of turn. Then we have the Wayward Swordtooth, which also has the Ascend mechanic on it. Really, the biggest thing about this is it lets you play an additional land on each turn, and then it can't attack or block unless you do have the City's Blessing. So even if you don't have the City's Blessing, this is still super helpful. It'll let you get those lands out quicker if you have a lot of them. Then we have the Shifting Ceratops. It can't be countered, and it's got protection from blue. And you pay a green, and it gets reach, trample, or haste until end of turn. Then we have the Raging Regisaur. Whenever it attacks, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. This, of course, you can, ping a player, or if they've got some 1/1s out, knock those out. But the real thing is, some of our dinosaurs have the Enrage mechanic. So whenever they're dealt damage, an effect triggers. So that's why we want to be able to use that. Then we have the Majestic Heliopterus, flying, and whenever it attacks, another target dinosaur gains flying until end of turn. We have the Territorial Allosaurus. It's got kicker for 2 and a green. First of all, 4 for a 5/5, that's already good. But if you kick it, it enters when it enters the battlefield, it fights another creature. Then we have the Regisaur Alpha. Gives our other dinosaurs haste, which is really good, obviously. And when it enters the battlefield, you make a 3/3 dinosaur token with trample. We have Trapjaw Tyrant. It has the Enrage mechanic. When it's dealt damage, you exile target creature an opponent controls until this leaves the battlefield. Then we have Imperial Ceratops. Also has the Enrage mechanic. When it's dealt damage, you gain 2 life. You'll notice that it's got a higher toughness than it does attack. Quite a few of the Enraged dinosaurs are like that. Charging Monstrosaur. Trample and Haste, 5/5 for 5. Real simple, real effective. Then we have the Quartzwood Crasher from Ikoria, some of our newer sets. For 5, it's a 6/6 with trample, so that's really good. And whenever one or more creatures you control with trample deal combat damage to a player, you make an XX green dinosaur beast token with trample, where X is the amount of those is the damage, the amount of damage that creature dealt to that player. So basically, you make tokens that trigger this to make even more tokens. Plus, we do have stuff in here that does have trample naturally. Then we have the Burning Sun's avatar. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to target opponent and 3 damage to up to 1 target creature. So you can, take out someone's creature with this, or if you have a dinosaur with Enrage that, doesn't have too low of toughness, you can use it for that. Colossal Dreadmaw, 6/6 for 6 with trample. Probably one of the more frustrating dinosaurs because it's been reprinted unnecessarily numerous times. Then we have Atla Primal Storm. When it attacks, exile the top card of each player's library, and then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. Very, very, very powerful effect. Bellowing Aegisaur, or Aegisaur, however you want to say that. It does have Enrage also. When it's dealt damage, you put a +1/+1 on each other creature you control, so it can boost up all of your creatures. Silverclad Ferocidons. Whenever it's dealt damage, each opponent sacrifices a permanent, so that's a good way to get rid of some things. Then we have the Rampaging, let's try to pronounce that right. The Rampaging Brontodon. It's 7/7 for 7. It has trample already, and when it attacks, it gets +1/+1 till the end of turn for each land you control. So we definitely want to take advantage of that, because in this deck, because A, we have access to green, and B, we have dinosaurs that are rather hefty with their mana costs. We have a lot of ramp built in here. We have, I think it's 6 or 7 ramp spells, just solely based for ramp. So you get this out with enough lands. Of course, you're going to want to have probably 7, because we don't have very many mana rocks. So, you have at least 7 lands to cast this, get it out. That would be a 14/14 swinging in with trample. Then we have Thundering Spineback. All other dinosaurs get +1/+1, so that itself is worth it. And then we can feed mana into it to make dinosaur tokens. Say if, we're flooded and have nothing to really cast, we can make some tokens. Then we have the Verdant Sun's avatar. Whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. So with our dinosaurs, it can be very, very helpful with life gain. Now, we have one of our Godzilla cards. Yes, I got my hands on some of the Godzilla ones. I was able to get some of the Ikoria collector boosters at my local Walmart. Unfortunately, we do not have a local game store local to my area. The closest one is about an hour, which is not too bad, because I do have to go to that larger town sometimes, or go through it. But usually when that happens, it's because I have other things to do. I don't have the time to go and play Magic, or even stop to buy product. But I was very fortunate, got this one out of one of those collector boosters. It's actually Yadaro Wandering Monster, which is a dinosaur turtle, but they've relabeled it as Godzilla Doom Inevitable. It is a dinosaur, so that counts for our dinosaurs. Has trample and haste, so an 8/8 for 7 with trample and haste, already awesome. It does have cycling, and when you cycle it, shuffle it into your library from your graveyard. If you cycled it 4 or more times this game, put it on the battlefield from your graveyard instead. So you may not have the 7 mana available all at once, but if you can spare 2 per turn for 4 turns, you can get it on the field that way. Then we have Gishaff, Sun's avatar. This could be one of our alternate commanders if we wanted to. For 8, it's a 7/6 with trample, haste, and vigilance. And when it deals combat damage to a player, reveal that many cards from the top of your library, and you put any number of dinosaur creature cards from among them on the battlefield. So incredibly, incredibly powerful. Then Polyraptor. This one is probably my favorite, because every time it's dealt damage, you make a copy of it. You make a token copy of it. each one of those tokens has the Enrage ability. So this can get out of hand very fast. Very, very fast with some of our other spells. Then we have Zatalpa, Primal Dawn. It has Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible. So, yeah, it's only a 4/8, but with the Double Strike and Vigilance, that's pretty awesome. And then our other alternate commanders, Zakama, Primal Calamity. This thing is a beast. 9/9 for 9. Has Vigilance, Reach, and Trample, so it can block those pesky flyers. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, untap all your lands. So, if we were to hit this off of, say, Gishaff or one of the eggs from our commander, we wouldn't get to untap all of our lands. But that's okay, because we weren't trying to cast it anyway that way. But if you can, it's basically free. Then you can use that mana to use one of its effects to either deal 3 damage to a creature, destroy an artifact or enchantment, or gain some life. And then our other Godzilla card, this one's my favorite. We've got Godzilla, Primeval Champion. An 11/11 for 9. With Trample, mind you. When you cycle it, put a trample counter on target creature you control. We will more than likely not be using that, but it is nice just in case. Then we have Golta, Primal Hunger. This is our last dinosaur. A 12/12 for 12, but it costs X less, where X is the total power of creatures you control, and it has Trample. Chances are you're going to have a lot of power on the board already, so you can literally put out a 12/12 for 2. Very, very devastating. Okay, those are our dinosaurs. Now we have our non-dinosaurs, but again, all of these are support for our dinosaurs. We have Kinjali's Collar, Dinosaurs. Ooh, let's try that again. Dinosaurs cost 1 less. Then we have Otepec Huntmaster, Dinosaurs cost 1 less. And you can tap it to give one of them haste. We have Knight of the Stampede, Dinosaurs cost 2 less. So between these 3 cards here, that's 4 less for our dinosaurs. We have Forerunner of the Empire. This is basically a tutor for a dinosaur. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a dinosaur, reveal it, and put it on... Well, you shuffle your library, then put it on the top of the library. And when a dinosaur enters the battlefield under your control, you may, and that's very important, you may have Forerunner of the Empire deal 1 damage to each creature. We'll come back to that in a minute. We'll put him up here to the side. And then we have Tilanali's Summoner. Has this in mechanic as well. This one doesn't really support dinosaurs, technically. I just like the token generation. When it attacks, you may pay X in red, and if you do, make X 1/1 red elementals that are tapped and attacking. At the beginning of your next end step, you exile them unless you have the City's Blessing. So, at the beginning of the game, yeah, it's a 1/1 for 2, which is not all that great. But later in the game, when you've got your 10 permanents, this can be super awesome when you want to just flood the field with other stuff. So, let's get these out of the way, and let's show you the neat little... There we go. So, we use between Polyraptor and Forerunner, between these 2 cards here. If you have these out, it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that this says you may have it deal damage means that it's not an infinite, you're not going to generate infinite tokens that keep killing themselves. Basically, you can have, you would want to have this out first, and then when you cast Polyraptor, this triggers, does 1 damage to this one, make a token. Also, we have our lovely Soul Ring sleeves from Command Fest. So, yeah. You make a token, so there's your first token. That one entered the battlefield, and let's see, do I have a dice? Hold on, let me grab a dice. Aha! Or I should say a die, excuse me. Math teacher using incorrect grammar, imagine that. Okay, so we've done 1 damage to this one, so we're going to mark that with 1 damage. Then, this one entered the battlefield, so this triggers again, dealing damage to both of these. So, now this one goes to 2. We're not going to track damage on the tokens. Now, we make 2 tokens. Well, each one of those entered the battlefield. So, you can deal 2 damage here and here. So both of these just took 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see, this can get absolutely insane. We don't want to go too much. We don't want to go another one because that would kill our original one. Which, I mean, you could literally keep going. If we did it one more time, that was what, 4 creatures that entered the battlefield. So it's going to deal 4 damage to each one. That would give us what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that would make 6 more. So yeah, that would be even better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then these 2 would die. So I mean, yeah, it can get absolutely bonkers. If someone's using this, you're gonna want to put a stop to it really, really quick. So all right, those were us. Yes, that's all of our creatures, our dinosaurs and our support creatures. So let's move on to our next topic. All right, now we're gonna look at our enchantments, our instants, and our sorcery spells. I just decided to go ahead and put them all in one category on this one. So first we're going to start with probably the best enchantment if you have access to white is Smothering Tithe. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they can either pay 2 or not pay 2, and then you get a token, a treasure token where you get to add mana to your mana pool. So any deck that has white in it, you're going to want to put this in there. Then we have Colossal Majesty. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a creature with power greater than with 4 or greater, draw a card. Very, very common in this deck. Then we have Radiant Destiny. Got the Ascend mechanic on it. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Dinosaurs, obviously. And then creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1. And as long as you have the City's Blessing, they have Vigilance. So even without the City's Blessing, still a very good card. Then we have Elemental Bond. Whenever a creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So gives us some good card advantage. Now we have some of our Proliferate. So we have Song of the World Soul. Whenever you cast a spell, proliferate. Or excuse me, populate. I was saying proliferate earlier. Excuse me. Still making copies, but we're just talking about tokens. You just basically make a copy of a token that you already control. And then we have Growing Ranks, where at the beginning of your upkeep, you populate. So this one does it every turn. This one does it every time you cast a spell. Then we have Dual Shot. This is in here to basically use our Enrage mechanic. You deal 1 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. Then we have Dinosaur Stampede. Attacking creatures get +2/+0 till end of turn, and dinosaurs get trample until the end of turn. Then we have Shake the Foundations, deals 1 damage to each creature without flying, again for our Enrage mechanic, and you do get to draw a card, so that's always nice. Then we have Sundering Growth, which lets us destroy an artifact or enchantment and then lets us populate. Then we have our Nia Charm, deals either 3 damage to a creature, return target card from a graveyard to its owner's hand, or tap all creatures target player controls. Very, very helpful. Then we have Primal Might. Target creature you control gets +X/+X until end of turn, and then it fights 1 creature you don't control. Then we have the finale of Devastation. This honestly is good in any green deck, but of course with this being the giant dinosaur deck, you got to put it in here, right? Search your library and or graveyard for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less and put it on the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it, and if X is 10 or more, creatures you control get +X/+X and gain haste until end of turn. Absolute game ender in the right conditions. Then we have Star of Extinction. You destroy a land, and then Star of Extinction deals 20 damage to each creature and Planeswalker. So effectively a board wipe. Crash Through. Creatures you control gain trample until end of turn and draw a card. Arc Lightning, again, for our Enrage mechanic. Shamanic Revelation, draw a card for each creature, and then it's got Ferocious. You gain 4 life for each creature you control with 4 or greater power. Now for our ramp spells. We have Circuitous Root. I'm not 100% sure I said that right. But anyway, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and or gates. Put them on the battlefield tap. Shuffle your library. Explore. You may play an additional land this turn and draw a card. Kadama's Reach. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal them. Put one on the battlefield tapped and the other in your hand, and then shuffle. Sky Shroud Claim. Search your library for 2 forests and put them on the battlefield. That's what I like about this one. It just says forest cards. We can search out our dual lands that have a subtype. Then we have Explosive Vegetation. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands. Put them on the battlefield tapped. Shuffle. Cultivate. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands. Reveal them. Put one on the battlefield tapped and the other in your hand. Then shuffle. And then Farseek. Search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain and put it onto the battlefield tapped. And then shuffle. So, again, quite a few ramp spells because we have giant dinosaurs. We want to be able to get to those as soon as we can. All right, on to the next topic. All right, this one's going to be quick. Planeswalkers and Artifacts. Not very much of either in this deck. For Planeswalkers, we have Watley Warrior Poet. For her +2, you gain life equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So in this Dinosaur deck, you can have a lot. I mean, Golta itself is a 12/12, and then we had the Godzilla with 11/11. But if we use the finale of Devastation, that'll effectively give them plus at least 10, so can gain you lots of life. For the 0, you just make a 3/3 green dinosaur with trample, and then -X deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures. Creatures dealt damage this way can't block, so that could be multiple uses. 1, to just get rid of something. 2, for our enrage mechanic. Or 3, you can use it to prevent your opponents from blocking anything. Just deal 1 damage to them. Doesn't even have to destroy them. Just deal 1 damage to each of someone's creatures and they can't block with them. And then we have Vivian, Monster's Advocate. You may look at the top card of your library at any time if it's a creature, or not if it is, but you may cast creatures from the top of your library. +1 makes a 3/3 green beast. Then you can put either Vigilance, Reach, or a trample counter on it. And then her -2 can be very devastating in this deck. When you cast your next creature spell this turn, search your library for a creature card with lesser converted mana cost and put it on the battlefield. So let me cast this 8 CMC dinosaur real quick and then just put out a 7 CMC for free. Yeah, very awesome. And then for our artifacts, real basic. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, and Lightning Greaves. So that's it for those. Alright, last thing, we're going to look at our lands, our mana base, of course. We do have basics, obviously. We've got 4 each of plains, mountains, and forests. Those are just our basics. And then, for our non-basics, we, of course, have Command Tower. This is a multicolored deck. Then we have Unclaimed Territory. When it comes in, we choose a creature, so dinosaurs, of course. And then you can either add colorless or add one of any color, only 4 dinosaurs, though. Then we have the Forbidden Orchard. Add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. So who knows what you could make with that, but surely it'll be helpful. Jungle Shrine comes in tapped and adds 1 of the Nia colors. Temple of the False Gods, sort of kind of ramp. And now for all our dual lands. We have the 3 check lands, I believe is what they're referred to as. They come in tapped unless you control either a forest or a plains in this case. So we have the Sunpetal Grove, Clifftop Retreat, and Rootboard Crag. This one kind of frustrated me. I had to get the foil promo pack version simply because they didn't have any regular ones, but still really awesome because you have one of our dinosaurs in the background there. Then we have our 3 temples: Temple of Plenty, Temple of Triumph, and Temple of Abandon. When they come in tapped, and you get to scry 1, so that's helpful. Then we have the Guild Gates: Selesnya, Boros, and Gruul, which we can search these out with one of our ramp spells. Then we have the tap lands that gain life: Blossoming Sands, Windscarred Crag, and Rugged Highlands. And now we have our dual lands that don't have a full cycle. It's only 5 of them. So the 2 we could put in here from Zendikar, of course, these are actually from commander decks. This one from 20 and this one from 19. We have the Canopy Vista, it's a Forest Plains, Cinderglade, a Mountains Forest, and then from Shadows over Innistrad, we have the Fortified Village and the Game Trail. And then from Amonkhet, we've got the Cycle Lands. They come in tapped, or we can cycle them. This one had to get the pre-release weekend version, which not that big a deal, honestly. Yeah, scattered growth, yeah. Sheltered Thicket, and then lastly we have Crows and Verge. Comes in tapped, which is unfortunate, but it does let us search out a forest and a plains and put them on the battlefield tapped. So we can literally get any of our basics, or we could get any of our duels that have, see, I think, yeah, that's all the duels we have with subtypes. Or we could get any one of these four, which they're going to enter the battlefield tapped anyway because of Crows and Verge. So that in itself makes it pretty awesome. Yeah, this comes in tapped first, but I mean, you just got to deal with it. So that's it for our lands, and that's actually, yeah, that's it for our whole deck. So again, commander being Atla Palani, make us eggs so we can get those destroyed. We can even destroy the eggs ourselves with some of our damage spells. It just depends on the situation. The best thing to do with the eggs, in my opinion, chump blocks, as long as your opponents aren't attacking with anything that has flying. So, hope you guys enjoyed. I do want to apologize. I haven't really been getting much stuff up lately. Haven't been able to get to work. Have had to quarantine for 2 weeks. No, did not contract the virus, but I was exposed to it. Thankfully, I was negative, but my employer felt it was safe just to go ahead and quarantine for the 2 weeks, since I work with kids and teenagers at a school. So thankfully, no signs of the virus, no symptoms or anything, and I will be getting back to work. By the time this is up, I will be back at work. I can't upload from my house, unfortunately, at this time. So thanks again for watching, guys, and be looking for more deck techs in the future. Have a good one.